Hello. In today's video, I will talk about the Two of Wands. So, how I understand this card is, for one, it's in the suit of wands. In a regular deck of cards, we are talking about the suit of clubs. The Buddha family, it would be Padma. The element is fire. The color associated with this family is red. When I think about the Two of Wands, I think about, in its essence, it's talking about planning for the future. In its upright position, we're going to be talking about planning a voyage or planning ahead. In its reverse position, this card is going to be similar to the Fool in that it's moving without thought, moving without without a plan. And I often think of this card as like the opposite to the Fool in many ways, where at least in its upright position, it is it's not just moving out there, it's not moving impulsively, it's going to really consider things before it acts. And so in its upright position, that's what this card is going to represent. So again, this is a minor arcana card, and so it's going to be like a temporary situation, but it's going to speak to kind of this quality of a lot of foresight and thinking something out before acting. One of the things that comes up for me when I look at this card and when I think about this card is, so like there's this world out there, and we can look at it as like, the world is at your fingertips. And there's so much that you can do. And I often think about like the importance of, like, if you want to, cross the ocean, you can't just run out into the ocean and start swimming. You probably will not make it very far. But if you consider like the world and your destination and how to get there and planning all the steps to get there, you'll probably be a bit more successful. That's not to say that this trumps the energy of the Fool or the energy of this card in its reverse position. However, when it comes up with this particular card, it implies that right now is a time for planning, for thinking about the future, for sitting still and considering before acting. Whereas in its reverse position, it is going to kind of try to get your attention that maybe you're moving too hastily. Maybe this move without a plan is actually going to, jam you up in some kind of way. And so I think about this card kind of in that way. Whereas with the Fool, of course, we're talking about like the major arcana. So it's like, a spiritual state, some kind of major theme in one's life, versus this card, which is in the minor arcana. So it's going to be like a minor theme, something that's, not like a major, huge character trait or spiritual state that you're in. And so, yeah, those are kind of how I think about these cards, but I often think of them like in relationship to one another, just because it reminds me of like this voyage. Like the Fool is going on this voyage, but unlike the Fool, the 2 is going to be planning a great deal and thinking about the future and planning for the future. In its development, the thing that I remember most about this card was the bricks, which is really interesting because when I look at the card, my eye immediately goes to the bricks. And I think that's because it took me quite a while to like figure out the colors, to figure out, there's not a lot going on in this card. And yet it took a lot of time trying to figure out how this guy should be standing, where he should be standing, what should be around him. And so the bricks took quite a bit of time to develop. I don't recall what was actually going on in my life at the time this card was developed. The thing, like I'm saying, that I remember most is actually physically drawing out the card and working with the bricks and working with the colors. So yeah, that's the two of Wands. In the next video, we will talk about the 3 of Wands, and how I think about the 2, the 3, and the 4 is they are sort of like the continuation of one another. Like there is this voyage with all 3 of these cards, and here with the 2, we have the planning phase. So it's like thinking about the future, planning for the future, and then in the next 2 cards, we will talk about actually making the move into the future, into whatever that plan is. And so, again, in the next video, we'll talk about the 3 of Wands. I look forward to sharing that video with you, with you soon. I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. Thank you so much for joining me.